Alright, so here we are. It's nighttime, obviously. Can't see too well, but we're boiling the wort now. We brought it to a boil. We've been boiling for about 15 minutes or so.
Yep.
And we basically, here's the mash tun that you saw earlier. We mashed it. We basically just siphoned it through a tube.
Here, get a shot of the grain.
Alright, this is what's left after we siphoned the liquid out. It's all the grain that imparted its sugary goodness into the water, that hot water, the strike water that we had. Now it's all in here boiling, and we're about to add our first hop addition, bittering hops. How much is this? About an ounce?
It's about an ounce and a half.
About an ounce and a half of Hallertau hops, and we're just going to pour them right into the boil. There we go. Bubble up a little bit.
Smells good.
It does smell good. Pretty much as soon as the hops hit that boiling water, it pretty much releases the aroma of the hops itself. Would you say that's right, Sean?
Yes. Yeah. So the bittering hops, we're not going to get a lot of aroma or flavor from those hops. We're looking for a process called isomerization. That's where the boil accesses the bittering acids inside of the hops, and that's what we're going to use to balance out the beer, because we don't want it too sweet. If we just boiled the beer without any hops, it would come out way too sweet. So you put in a certain amount of bittering hops, and that brings it a little more balanced. You don't want, for this style of beer, a Wiezenbock, you don't want it too bitter, you don't want it too sweet, so that's why we put about an ounce and a half of low alpha acid hops in it. And then we're going to do one addition a little bit later, about 10 minutes left in the boil, about a half an ounce, and that'll be more for flavor and aroma. So when you make it like an IPA or something, you put a lot of hops in at the end, and then you get a lot of hop aroma and flavor. So that's kind of how you work the hops in the boil.
What exactly is a Wiezenbock? It sounds German. It sounds like some of those sneaky Germans would try to sneak in on us.
A Wiezenbock is essentially a Dunkelweizen on steroids. So it's a dark wheat-based beer. It's dark with a lot of wheat, like a Dunkelweizen or Dunkelweizen, and it's got a good kick. It's going to be about 8.5% ABV once it's done. So it's got a really strong alcohol content, like a Bock. So a Wiezenbock. There you go.
All right. And we're boiling this on a basic turkey fryer. I think it's basic. There's nothing special about this turkey fryer, is there, Sean?
Yeah, this is the latest in high-tech technology. NASA just released.
NASA wanted to be able to have their astronauts boil turkeys up in outer space, so this is what they made. No, it's just a turkey fryer. It's basically just because there's so much wort. Was it about 7 or 8 gallons worth?
About 7.5 gallons.
And we on the stovetop, we can't get it hot enough to get that much volume to come to a boil, so we had to get a turkey fryer to do it outside.
Yeah, we're doing full volume boil, so we've got about 7.5 gallons in there right now. I've measured that before in this kettle, so I know where 7.5 gallons is. And when we sparge, that's when after we mash the grain in the hot water, we drain out that water into the boil kettle, and then I add more hot water in there, and that's called the sparge. So I'm rinsing all that sugar out of the grain and getting it into our wort. And then I'll get a volume up to about 7.5 gallons, and we'll boil that we pre-boil for 15 minutes before we put in any hops, and that's to help with DMS, which stands for dimethyl sulfide. You boil it for about 15-30 minutes sometimes before you put in the hops, and it burns out some of the. It's DMS. If you don't boil it out at the end result of your beer, it can taste like cooked corn. So you want to boil it for a little while. It's something that the grain has, and when you boil it, all that junk comes out in the steam and the evaporation. So we'll boil it for about 75 minutes total, and that'll bring it down to about 5 gallons, and that's what we want in the carboy. And then we'll have about 5 gallons total. And
so earlier you were telling me about the scientific method you have for knowing that there's exactly 7.5 gallons.
Yeah.
And that can you enlighten everyone as to what this scientific approach is?
Yeah, you can see it. Well, you can see it on the inside. There's
come over here.
Yeah, this kettle. It's an 11 gallon stainless steel kettle. It says Bayou Classic right there, and we've got a little website down there, BayouClassic.com. And right when it hits the BayouClassic.com, when I'm sparging, I know that that's about 7.5 gallons because I took a milk jug and I rinsed it out when I first got this kettle, and I filled it up, and I was like, oh, that's right about 7.5 gallons. That's perfect. So.
Milk jugs on the website. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. All right, so I think we're gonna keep boiling, and I think we'll go ahead and get you guys back on when we go ahead and pitch the yeast.